You said it was supposed to be a seat, right? Around
Yeah, it
a natural seat.
shaped to become a firm. The create division between the playground and the athletic. But the contract didn't get awarded. Now it's just. It's not rocket science.
It slows the kids down though. It's like a natural,
I always look forward to this, every meeting.
it's meant to be there. It's a safety feature.
I think it's the thing.
Here, we'll pass these down.
Yeah. There you go. Is that what you have?
That's, yeah, it's just our own.
I don't want to start now. We'll call the work session to order at 4:30. Julie,
I'm gonna start it.
you're gonna start?
I'm gonna start it.
Julie started.
It started with DPW. And Mr. Bissett. Hi, Mike. Is it all right if you stay sitting or do you want him to stand? It's a quick thing. I
Well,
mean, for
Mike
him to
can-
come up to the mic is up to you.
Anybody else got anything for Mike while he's up? After the snowstorm.
This is something that's been visited and visited. But I have to revisit it because I had two constituents call me about this.
Okay.
The garbage. Here we go. I'm not gonna mention their names, because I don't.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a big thing about. The letter that went around did not stipulate specifically. That the bags have to be. In the can, that the lid has to be put down.
Okay.
All right. Now, this one gentleman had a couple of bags. He was charged for them because they were on the can and the lid was not closed. It's not about the fact that he had to pay the extra money. He feels that you should resend a letter out specifying specifically exactly what has to be done.
And then we can do that. What I will say is this, at the beginning of the year. We send out the garbage schedule. That includes all the double run days, like for instance, the one we just had on Tuesday, also gives garbage rules, and I think it's right in there in that letter. The flyer that we put on each door was because we didn't want. You know, if all I got was 2 people complaining about overages, that's really good. Seeing that we had 1,800 customers. It was a last minute thing. We said, you know what, so we don't get killed with phone calls with new rules. Let's throw a flyer out there. Can we throw an extra one out? Sure. I mean, it'll take a while. I would suggest we do it as a mailer, and I think I actually have a mailer already done because the former mayor didn't like the mailer we had actually done. So the mailer that we sent out, he kind of jazzed up and did his way, but we can send out the other one.
Okay, and let me ask you, do all the trucks have that lift on the back?
No,
Just the new one, right?
just the newer one, and you know, a lot of times, I got questioned about, they don't use it all the time. Well, some people generate 2 bags of garbage.
In
Guys
my father,
the guys
yeah.
are trying to move as quickly as they can, and that's why we don't always use it.
That's actually, the one gentleman that I spoke with actually said that, when you can get it done faster, you're gonna grab the bags, I wouldn't recommend it at my
But
house.
there are certain customers who will get every square inch of that tote full, and it takes 2 men to bring it over there, and that's when it's nice to have that tipper.
Okay, so that's
That's
all,
all I have.
that's all I wanted to say.
got
He just, I think, would like to see another,
Yeah, we definitely
Letter
for
to-
sure can do it. I know a lot of people, that's one of the questions, not that question, but. A lot of times people will get confused with double run days. Those rules go out every year. They haven't changed since I've been here. The only thing that has changed is fees have changed as of last year. We passed a resolution plus the
Right.
overages. That has changed a little bit. But the boilerplate of it has been here for the 10 years that I've been, with the city of Plattsburgh and the 3 that have been superintendent. We have not changed it. So, but we can definitely resend it. I do know, like I said, we had originally formatted one way. The prior mayor at the last minute wanted it reformatted with QR code and some other stuff. So I don't know which one we sent, but I do know I have 1,800 copies of another letter, so I don't think it'd be a problem sending.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That
Thank you,
it?
Mike.
That it? Nobody has got anything for Mike? I'm gonna commend Mike and his crew for doing a great job this past week during the snowstorm. And I'm gonna tell you, that water line break on Broad Street was amazing.
It was, yeah,
It was incredible. I mean, how those guys did that in the whole, I just tip my hat to them, so. Anyways, thank everybody, Mike, for at DPW for us, because the roads were driving around in the snowstorm they did the best that we could expect, in my opinion.
Lieutenant Trombley. And I would like to say thank you for all of the reports that got sent to us. They were
Yeah, thank you.
absolutely meticulous and very nice.
Hopefully,
I'm hoping the questions that I'm gonna ask are allowed. But first of all, the personal complaint summaries, can you tell me who investigates those? Is it more than one person or?
Those are investigated typically by the administrator, the head of the division, the administrator that heads that division. So if the complaint is about a patrol officer, it would be the patrol lieutenant, which predominantly are, they just have more interactions. So you're referring to just the January one, this last? Yes, those are all identified.
Okay, who decides if they are founded or unfounded?
He does.
He does. Okay. The parking violation, it looks like it's increased for the year. Do you think that's
Yes.
because two people are policing it now, or do you think that the parking downtown kind of needs to be revisited the way it is? I'm just curious. It's gone up substantially in the last year.
So the difference between last January and this January, I did look at that, I did notice that as well, and I did speak to the senior parking enforcement officer. And there were less snow bans, which usually is what carries January with those numbers, but there were fewer this year. They're out there actually observing and citing. That was the real push there. And then money in return was up as well.
Yes.
So just more activity.
I noticed that.
on
Okay, all right. And the recovered needles, Broad Street Bridge seems to be a problem, obviously.
Is that the underside of it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
the Broad Street Bridge is what
Yep,
that
Kennedy
one.
Bridge,
it's
Yeah.
the underside of it, like,
predominantly underneath, yes. There is a receptacle there now, though.
Is there, and obviously it needs little, okay. Do you think there should be extra patrols are there? How do you think that can be? I mean,
So yeah, we can influx patrolling. I know the foot patrols that are being conducted, the frequency I don't have on the head in that specific location. But we can try to push in some more foot patrols and off hours, any low visible area like that. Close to a dense area like that.
yeah,
We'll see this. This is why we put based on these, the data set, that's why we put the receptacle there, because there is an influx there.
yeah, it's pretty sad, and I remember pictures that the mayor had shared a while ago, and it was pretty bad.
is it one of those things though, if you stamp it out in one place, it's just gonna go someplace else sort of thing?
It's hard to say. I understand the question. And we're not trying to allow it either,
No,
but placing those receptacles there just give people the opportunity instead of dropping
Right.
or carrying them dropping, we just put them there. The real problem is that it has the low visible areas. So if we put a receptacle in front of City Hall, few people would most likely walk.
Yeah,
It's too visible, right? So there's a bit of a rub there, so. I know that they're emptying that receptacle frequently. As to why they're not using it and just using the bridge, just might be that they're under the bridge and not using.
so the numbers for recovered, is that within the receptacles as well, or just the ones that are found on the street?
These are just found on the street, doesn't incorporate the receptacle.
Would an accurate picture be ones that include the receptacles as well?
We could in that generalized area, maybe do like a geo fence around.
Just
it.
to, yeah, just to have enough, picking them up off the ground is one thing, but the receptacles are another to give us.
I
pictures,
see.
you know,
I can get that data and pull it together, just see what those numbers are.
Yeah, I mean, just curious. That would be kind of good to know.
And pardon my ignorance, but what is the SMR information report?
Yep, so that's, the SMR is a subject management report, so anytime there's a use of force. Those reports are mandated by policy to be completed by any officer involved in that use of force. And it's not just putting restraints on somebody, that is using physical force to put restraints on. So if I'm compliant, if I'm a compliant subject and I just put my hands behind my back and the officer puts restraints on me, does not rise to the level. That would cause a SMR to be done.
Okay,
SMR is actually a use of force where someone has to physically force me to respond to what you're saying. Or what the officers.
I'm not this has got to be you too. The monthly public safety report, is that last year's obviously, or the one that we got? Because it looks like it's in the year in its entirety.
I don't know what that is. I don't have it in front of me.
The monthly public safety report, it's got the overtime and all that other. It looked like it was from month to month to month.
Does it have the image on it? The pie diagram?
Yes,
Yes, that is.
that's last year's.
No, that's this year.
That's this year's. So am I reading it right that we're way over time for PD?
So overtime.
Over
right now-
overtime.
Overtime is high, so I've been breaking down week by week. It's high this last week, pushed up because of. We have 4 service members within our agency, so they got activated this past weekend. We got sicknesses within our department right now, and then there was a couple training events that caused overtime.
Okay,
So the month is a little high, specifically this past week.
So training events do cause overtime.
At some level, they're going to. I mean, we do the best we can, but when there's a manpower shortage. So say, I'll use the example is if there's a sergeant that is on vacation, that is scheduled vacation, and then a training comes up for that corporal, like this training was mandated for our corporals to attend. A supervisor has to be in charge of the shift, so it would cause overtime. Thank you. To have a corporal or sergeant. Fill that shift. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, that's what I thought, but
yeah.
it wasn't. the
I did
answer.
notice the fire department.
It's not exclusive. I mean, we try to do the best we can, but there is coverage that is needed.
Right.
That's all I have. Does anyone else have anything for?
You did it all.
No, you did all right.
We're down to 5 bodies right now. We're trying to recruit 5 people.
We are. There's an coming academy in April, scheduled the 18th of April. We do have 5 shorts. We hope to fill them. We're within the process right now, doing background investigation. Preparing for that.
Thank you. Sit on down. Amy's got some stuff, right?
I don't know, do we usually bring up the things that we've already sort of answered over email?
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's up to you. That's up to Wendell, not me, or Mayor Hughes, not me.
I mean, I
You want to go over it again?
I have a brief executive session we have to go into, so whatever. you
I mean, I
guys-
was satisfied with Janelle. I mean, she gave us some really good answers. I just had
Definitely.
some of those questions about the dams.
I'll walk there and I think you're good.
I mean, no, I thought they did a really great job. Richard gave us some
Very,
information and I
yeah.
passed that along and that was really good. I
It
mean,
was good reading, yes, definitely.
so I'm satisfied for now. If we have other things.
Good.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a moment, I'd like to request a brief executive session to discuss personnel issues. Get a motion. First, Councilor Colleen, second, Councilor Bond, roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Evans,
Yes.
Counselor Talon,
Yes.
Counselor Manette,
Yes.
Counselor Colleen,
Yes.
Session.
The sign stuff.
Don't have Skittles.
Entertain a motion to come out of executive session. First, Councilor Colleen, second, Councilor Manette, all in favor?
Hey.
Any other business for the work session? I've got nothing.
What is all that, this, today, this is just,
That's for the, that's our.
Truck?
Oh,
That's about the truck.
this is the new truck?
did we want to talk about Sailors Beach? The, bring that back up, because I'd like to get some feedback from everybody. Courtney and Alicia.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Please, yeah, let's talk about that, because we'd like to get some feedback on the study down there, to find out what we did wrong and what we can do better.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to revisit, this item. I understand that it was brought for the contract to be awarded, while I was out in late fall. We still have the grant funds and, you know, I would love a little bit of guidance and some feedback on, you know, if there was something, if it had to do with, you know, the award, recipient or the scope of the project, so that we can take that back and I can work with the state on presenting something that will be able to be awarded. So happy to answer questions or hear from you folks as well.
We have two counselors that weren't here during the
Yeah.
original vote. So maybe you would just give them a
Jay,
oversight.
Can you give us like a history, the rundown of?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this grant application went in the 2023 consolidated funding application process through the Office of Parks and Historical Preservation. It's a grant requesting a feasibility study and a plan for Sailors Beach Park, which is the one, what would we call it, was south on the Terry Gordon bike path where you have to drive over the overpass. I think it's also got Centennial Park, which is sort of Rotary's park, and there's a little rotunda there. You folks have been down there, you probably noticed that there's some hazards present on the site. There's a kind of a retaining wall that has some concerning things that come out of it. The pier is broken down and a little bit risky, but folks still go down there and use it. It's predominantly used for fishing. People will kind of go down and hang out by the water in that area. So this plan was to look at that space and create a little bit of a master plan for it and do some environmental testing, understand what it would cost to start to fix up some of these different elements of the park, fixing the pier, fixing the retaining wall, making it a little bit more accessible. The grant was awarded for $82,000, and that is 50-50 match city fund. So the city would be paying $41,000, and that's matched by the state with $41,000. We entered into a grant contract with them last year. Once that was finalized, we put the contract out for RFP. That happened. I believe that happened right before I left in November for maternity leave. I think we received two bids, two responses, one from Saratoga Associates, one from Barton and LaJudas. And there was a resolution put towards the council to award it, and it wasn't awarded. And so now here we are today. If you have more questions, let me know.
Do you remember why it was not awarded, or is that where that's what we're talking about today? Does anybody remember what the logistics were on that? Or the issue?
Why we
Well,
said
it
no?
sounds like, just so if I can understand, that it was agreed upon, the council agreed, right? And that you could go do it, it means we're willing to put up our 41.
Yep.
So it came down to fulfilling it, basically.
Yeah.
And so something about it didn't sit well at that point.
No.
What-
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave and Jennifer, but I think we voted it down because we felt the scope of the whole project was a little bit too big. Like the pier. That's what it's, yeah, the pier. Would have been, the scope of how big it was going to be didn't
Something like
sit
that.
well with,
It
with
was something like that.
a couple people, yeah. And,
I think the consensus was that we had spent an awful lot on parks and we wanted to.
We were reeling it back in then a little bit, maybe?
yeah,
Okay.
and I think some of the consensus was that the city beach still needs work. And so to take on that beach, when the city beach still needs work, seemed silly. But that's a beautiful beach down there. The possibilities are endless, not to be a woo-woo-wah, but, and that end of town. I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
my end of town, okay, but I think that it would benefit everybody at that end of town. They can't make it to the city beach.
Right, so was the grant RFP designed to take a look at it and see what could be done, or was it already dictated that?
So there was a plan created as part of the, Alicia, is it part of the harbor side master plan? Am I- What LWRP?
It was in the LWRP and current
Yeah, the-
PRI,
Okay,
where there was a concept for that area.
Okay.
Just very rough sketch.
the concept was what we took to, and this is before my time in the department, but what was taken to the CFA to get awarded. And then this plan would be taking that into more of a design and developmental place. So by the end of this plan being implemented, we would have a better understanding of, okay, you know, here's exactly where we would want the pier, how much, not pier, it's not really a pier, it's like a dock.
I didn't know what else to
No,
call
that's
it.
okay. The
Breakwater.
pier sounds really big, but it's mainly just a dock, and, you know, here's where that would be, and, you know, we had, we did some monitoring and we found some environmental, considerations that need to be addressed. Here are the steps that we would take to address those. And so we're kind of getting a package that's saying, here's everything you need to do to now implement construction or, you know, make this happen.
Within the 82K that you guys wanted, this is what we can do for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, I think just emphasizing what a feasibility study is maybe important. Like, it was to conduct a feasibility study to determine essentially what is feasible and provide cost estimates.
Yeah.
Along the proposed items in the plan.
So it wasn't out to bid for actually doing anything, it was just approving the feasibility study. About it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. thank
Which has, yeah, and kind of just to go off that, which had a public engagement component, so, you know, going back out to the public and saying, hey, how do you use this site, what would you want to see? And that's where, you know, as we work with a consultant in the development of this type of plan, we're also able to say, like, look, please don't design us something that is a multi-million-dollar thing that we're never gonna be able to implement. We need something that is reasonable, that
Yep.
still meets, you know, what the
Absolutely.
use is gonna be, but, you know, we have to keep the scope within what we feel like is actually manageable. And so that's part of the process of working with the consultants who develop the plan.
Is that
You've
much?
got people coming in up Route 9. And they see what's going on and what's down there, and there's signs saying, hey, that looks better than what's there right now.
Mhm.
I mean,
And that grant is still on the table, like it's been awarded, or it's,
Yep, it's been awarded and we have 5 years to implement it. This project will take maybe 9 to 10 months to complete, so we're still well within the timeframe to complete the grant. We're just sort of at a standstill of, you know, if we take this back to the council to re-award, I don't want to bring something back and then it just have it happen again, so the feedback is helpful.
We shouldn't be shooting down grants. If we can get grant money, then.
Well, can
that's
we make it a smaller step? Do we have to go with the 41? Does the state? Does it have to be that 41,000? Can we go with a smaller scope?
Yeah, I wanted to look into that. I put a letter out to or a message out to our contact just to understand. I think there's a mechanism to request some type of adjustment to the scope, so I can bring more information back to the council when I hear back from
So
her.
I don't know, Dave, I don't know if there was a cost concern.
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't remember. Yeah.
And if they, whatever, they do the feasibility study, and let's say it's $1 million or whatever, maybe more than that, but whatever it is that project already budgeted, like in a 5-year plan, or so it would be something new?
You seen the plan?
Um,
We could do all of them.
Yeah, I know, that was,
Just don't have them.
it's this thick, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And feasibility studies like this are what allow us to then apply for future grants that do actually fund the construction of these types of projects. So, it's all part of kind of the process of moving along with the state and the funding. They want to see that you've done the proper assessments and studies and you have a plan before they administer funds to actually.
Okay.
I'm glad you say that because I don't think that that is clear and known enough that I didn't.
Yeah.
And if you do the feasibility studies, then it's part of the process
Yeah.
and we're not gonna miss out on grants, and that's the big thing right there. So we have to do due diligence in order to get what we want.
Well, and I think the bigger question is, how willing are we as a council to support that when we get it? Right, because that's where the rubber hits the road, is we get a great feasibility study, they make a recommendation, and are we willing to put money towards it? And we would just have to decide,
Yep.
right, how much and the scope, and if we can help shape that into something that we can say yes to, then that's great.
Yeah, and I think not to take this a totally different direction, but I think it's why I think the community development department works really closely with the council during the time when we develop which consolidated funding applications we put forward. Most of them require a resolution from the council for us to even go and apply. So there's a buy-in from the very beginning to say, hey, we supported you in applying for this grant, which means if you get it, we're going to support the implementation of this grant as well. And I think that's why, communication, open communication and continued communication is important so that everybody understands, okay, if we say yes to this, here's what we're signing up for. It could be 2 years from now, but we're all committed to
Right.
seeing that through.
Mhm.
And on a side note, the state did hold this against us for the approval of another grant, Bailey, at Penfield Park. They said we have 2 grants that we have not utilized at this point already, and that was part of the decision process when we didn't get approved for that 3rd grant. So we really need to look at the applications. If we're not gonna approve to go forward with them, we need to not go forward with them. I think it's important that we do that because we don't want to be, we surely don't want to miss out on another grant somewhere else
Kind of like a
because,
catch-22.
yeah, it is. It was in the really,
Debrief.
yeah, it was in the, it was stated right there. And when they used one of the steps of City Hall, that grant and the Sailor Beach against us with Penfield Park grant. And that was out to bid. So that really wasn't fair. I mean, it's wintertime in the North Country. We're not gonna redo steps in the wintertime. So
Right.
that one, we can work with that one, but the other one, it's hard to deal with when
Yeah.
we lost some money on the Penfield Park. Maybe.
Has a feasibility study been done there before?
It's just been sitting there.
Party spot.
Horrible. It's sad.
Yeah. And we do have a lot of feasibility studies in the city of Plattsburgh that we have paid a lot of money for through the years, and some of them we can't, I mean, they're beautiful plans, and we just can't afford to do
That's
some.
why I was asking.
Yeah.
So is looking at coming back with a different, a reduced scope of work where the city and the overall grant amount would be decreased, is that where we would go with this next in order to get to awarding a contract? I mean, what will be involved in that is that we'll have to develop a new scope of work, reissue another RFP, because we'll be asking for a different, and then, have to re-award that bid. I believe if we wanted to keep things as is, we can just move forward with these 2 bids.
Try for the smaller, that's my opinion. Go for this downsizing a little. And we can see where we're at from, at that standpoint, from looking, just
I'd be okay with that.
my 2 cents.
I think that would be good.
Does it affect the grantor, like the grant funding? I mean, if we say we don't want as much?
That's what I have to look into. I'll get more, I can get more clarification on that. Hasn't happened before, but I'm sure it has happened. Okay.
We don't want to lose it.
Right.
Well, we
Just
do,
trim
if
it
we're not
back a
gonna do
little.
it. We don't want them holding it against us again.
Yeah. But just trim it back a little.
There. You can look at that, right? You can get in touch with them this week and see what they say.
Next week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright.
Days go fast.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah, any
Yes,
other
thank you.
questions on here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody?
So, did you wanna talk about, what the climate task force did the other night?
We talked about zoning too, yeah, 'cause I know you had a
There
meeting
you
the
go,
other day.
yeah.
Boom.
Did combo.
Tonight wasn't my night to report out, but if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to try and entertain them, or if you had something specific you were thinking about for climate task force, were you thinking food waste reduction?
Just about how the county is working with us in that aspect, and we've got some good prospects coming along.
Yeah, so last night we had a climate task force meeting, and I'm blanking on Cody's last name, but a member of the
Douglas.
Cody Douglas from the Clinton County Health Department sits on the climate task force. He's a member and oversees a food waste reduction grant that the county has. And was informing the task force about a project he's got going on in Shazy, I believe.
And Champlain too.
And Champaign too. And said that the implementation of the food waste reduction program in those two areas could be models for how he could assist the city in implementing a program, and that there is funding available if the city would be interested in it. And so we kind of spitballed some ideas around that. And asked him if he could put together a presentation first for the task force so we can better understand all the different options available under the grant program, and then help kind of formulate some more specific talking points, and help tailor a presentation that he could bring to the council. So we can better inform the council, because we would need your sign on and participation if we were going to go down that road. So,
Well said.
yeah. So more to come on that, but and it's a very fresh update, but I think promising
Yeah.
if the city was interested in partnering.
I think Elizabeth will like that. She's not here, but.
What was that?
I think Elizabeth will like that too.
I hope
Just
so.
the updates. It was her initiative to bring it back. So.
Yeah, I mean,
Great.
there would still need to be a bit of, brainstorming in what locations would be appropriate. But we had, conversations, of like potentially some of the city parks could be good, communal, spots for larger dumpsters, and potentially those dumpsters could be key coded. So figuring out a plan and ironing out those logistics would be the biggest element to this, I think. But in our discussions last night, we already identified that there are residents in the community who would be interested in it. And there is a dumpster behind the co-op,
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think, that is actively being used under this program. And there are community members that I believe have signed up to use it. So it's already in action and it's successful, but looking to bring that, to the city at large is where we would propose to go with that.
So is that a pay to play kind of thing? If you wanted to, the one that's behind the co-op, is that the model that you? have in mind?
And that's one of the elements we would have to figure out. So I believe the city, the way the structure is right now, that the municipalities are paying for the disposal.
I believe
costs,
for
pickup
the
costs,
collection, yeah.
collection costs. And so that would be, you know, an element that would be factored in and probably could be negotiated. I don't know how much the grant would be able to cover, if at all.
Cody's gonna get us some numbers.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, and I think he's gonna try and have a presentation ready for the committee by next meeting, next month. And then potentially within a couple weeks to 2 months, have something for the council.
And something like this will help us to get more points to head towards. We're trying to work towards the silver award, so we've already got the bronze. We wanna get the silver certification too, so we wanna be a very climate smart city.
Yeah. And I can coordinate as we get closer to having the presentation ready, coordinate with the mayor. To determine what the council's availability is and what the format of sharing that out should be. Any other questions?
It's good in the zoning world.
Everything's good in the zoning world. It's very peaceful and perfect.
No updates on the this week's meeting or pretty much.
We had a workshop, a work session this morning, where some of the PAC members were present. We do have a full PAC meeting, next Tuesday night at 5 p.m. It's virtual. That's listed under our, meetings section of our website, with a link to the virtual meeting. Public doesn't get to participate in that meeting, but they can certainly sit in and spectate and kind of follow along. So we did go over proposed revisions to the sign code today, or the sign regulations of the code. We went over design guidelines, and then the massing and scaling of proposed guidelines. So there's going to be a lot more graphics, hopefully, with this update, a lot more tables. So it's more user friendly and yeah, user friendly and understandable, readable.
So the public can log on and watch, but they can't participate in the link is public.
Correct.
Just no
For this
public
meeting,
input on this meeting.
right?
Okay, just to be clear, just in case somebody wants to go to that meeting.
Yep.
Virtually.
And while we did want to have a full draft completed by now and host a public workshop and bring it to the council, we're still working to get to that full draft. And we still have prospects of bringing it to the council, updating the council on its entirety, and then holding a public workshop. And then hopefully moving it forward as efficiently as possible towards, you know, seeker and full adoption.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
Emma, you want to mention anything?
The lack of snow perhaps?
Well, no, blame the snow on Emma because we had the snow
Yeah.
event this week. So if I don't know if you want to just give a shout out for your event this week. I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's gonna be really good. Just so if somebody doesn't know about it, which I ran into a couple of people today.
Yeah, so this Saturday is Chill on the Hill at Fox Hill South Platte Park from 11 to 2. There's gonna be Tammy's Lunchbox, Cousin's Maine Lobster.
Wait, what?
Seriously?
Mhm. Yeah.
See, this is why that's why I asked her to come talk.
Yep, there'll be some music provided by Star 92.9. We'll have Rustic Pines with their beer garden. We'll have the Strand will be doing some kids art activities. McDonald's will be giving out free hot chocolate. There will be like a heated tent from Taylor Rental. People need to come in and warm up since there are no heated facilities at Fox Hill. Believe that's it. I could be forgetting.
You had me at
something right now.
lobsters.
Sledding, ice skating. Shout out to DPW for helping us get that area all plowed up and the ice skating ready if weather keeps cooperating with us. So, yeah.
It looks like it is gonna cooperate. It
Yeah.
looks really good this week.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah. Yeah,
That's supposed
I'm
to warm up
excited.
till
I
next
can't wait
week.
to go.
yeah, so
Hmm?
please, come out and bring your families, carpool if you can, or park somewhere nearby and
Yeah.
walk down, but we're excited.
I heard there was a hockey game with all the department heads against each other. True? I just made that up.
We'll talk.
What's that? But yeah,
I'll do it.
we'll do it. We'll bring our skates.
That would be fun, yeah.
That'd be a great charity event.
And you could be,
Actually.
get the ambulance to make sure,
Yeah, we have the fire,
EMTs
we have the
there.
fire chief here, so we can hook up an ambulance or something, right?
I bet there's some hockey players out there.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I know the
That'd be great.
roads are kind of,
Sorry.
they're, the side roads are a little, so parking's gonna be kind of rough.
good part.
Jim brought that to my attention, by the way, not me.
No, parking was tough even for the last fall, but I mean,
Okay.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of side streets there, just, be patient. I think the event's gonna be more than worthwhile, find that spot and maybe walk a little bit further. You can always drop off there and then let the family know if you have that capabilities and then get back there. I'm excited. I mean, go to Discover Plattsburgh. And then you got 14, she's done an amazing job with 14
Yes.
events and there's probably more to come, so. I'm pretty excited about all 14. I think she's doing a great job up there, so. And DPW and everybody else that puts in for it. And I think it's gonna be a good year. Something positive, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Mark.
Positivity is good.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thanks,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. I put you on the spot too. Sorry about
It's
that.
okay, just to give them.
Yeah, so anybody else got anything? We can take a motion to stop the work session. Councilor Manette. Second, Councilor Evans to the plate. We'll take a brief break and we'll be back. We'll start the next session. How's that?
Ben.
Should I do the same statement?